helping you get to the next level. If you go to myfootballcamps.com/D1, Mike and me do video promotion for you guys. Send it out to our whole following, which basically covers every single college coach in the country. And the guys, most importantly, that you're interested in, this is why we call it a D1 promotion, is the guys at Division I level, both FBS and FCS. Mike?
Yeah, the most recent one was, Carson Rauner from Nebraska, who's kind of interesting because he doesn't get a lot of attention being in Nebraska. Obviously he's known in Omaha, but not known around the country. And, I know you already did your breakdown, and I've watched his film. I'm going to watch it one more time. And this is a kid who just makes a lot of plays on the run. I mean, his offensive line doesn't really do much for him, and he's just scrambling around, but he's got a live arm. He's mobile. He's tough. And, he might be a kid that a few schools have never heard of that's going to get discovered through this process. So it's over 1 million social media followers between us. And I think it's well worth it. So that's the pitch there. I'm going to probably get to him and break it down even more over the next couple of days and then promote him. But just DM either of us. My DMs are open. Are your DMs open?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just DM us and we'll tell you more about it. Or as he said, as Coach Schuman said, myfootballcamps.com/D1. So let's delve in.
I want to talk to you. Yeah, so there we go. Our first free promo. We'll get that cleaned up nice eventually.
That's fine, man. You do really good with this stuff. Like that Legends Live intro you do and all that. I barely know how to record to YouTube and upload it. So you are way ahead of me in this game of technology.
That's, I guess, from being a solo warrior for so long out there and having to make everything go,
It's not fun. It's not fun, but it is fun. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, once we went from, I think I had one time 5 video people on staff, full time. And when we kind of, as the camp space changed and that went away, I had to figure some of that stuff out. So I learned that over the last 6 or 7 years. But let's
the promo has been it's been well received. I mean, it's been fun. In different levels of players. That's the cool part about it. We started with some FCS level kids or Division II kids, and I think the quarterbacks especially are kind of interesting because you just don't know with quarterbacks. I mean, it's what flavor ice cream you like, and it could be somebody out there at a Power 5 level that wants one of these kids and just didn't know about them and now will. But yeah, there's some intriguing kids too that we're doing this week. So keep an eye on my Twitter feed and Coach Schuman's Twitter feed and TikTok and all that good stuff, because we got a running back from California. He's pretty darn good, and he just hasn't broken through yet with that first offer.
And then we got 2 linemen that are coming up. So, which
one young too, and a young guy.
Yep.
Smart, as we talked about last week. Get the promotion out early and build your momentum. And then another guy who's just sort of been overlooked a little bit and needs that boost. Where people may have already gone through their O-line film and need a reminder of who's out there and who's available. And it's like, oh, I got to take a look at this kid again.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And this is the beginning of the time to do it, right? Camps are going on. Guys are sifting through things, and you may have popped up at a camp. Well, now when you pop up again, they will know who you are. And you won't have to be part of a 1,000-person camp and not have to figure out. They can figure out who you are beforehand. So,
and we know how it works. You and I know how it works. Okay, so here's how it works. If people don't know, these kids, their film is evaluated early, right? And they're put in a category. Some schools have a 1 to 5 category. Some have a 1 to 4. Some have a 0 to 5, and some have a lower number. 0 is like a kid we're going to offer 100% blue chip. 5 is a kid we want to invite to camp, and then it's somewhere in between. But you put in that number until you get an offer. Then everything changes. because what they do is, let's say you get an offer, and it could be a group of 5 school, or it could be even an FCS school. Then all of a sudden, that offer is public, and these coaches go back and they look at this kid, and he's got a 5 rating, which means he's a camp invite only, and they'll look at his film again. And all of a sudden, now that he's got an offer, they might see something different that they missed. They'll review your film again, and that's how the offers snowball. People wonder, like, oh, this kid got an offer from this, Big Ten school, and then 3 days later, he got 4 more offers. Well, that's how it works. Once you get one, then everybody says, what am I missing here? I don't want to miss anything. And then they look, and then you start to get the offers piling up. So you just need that first one. But that's it. I mean, there's no science to it. Like, nobody sees a kid and offers him, early, and then he doesn't have any offers, right? He's got one offer and it stays that way for a year. They get an offer, and then other schools look, and then they'll get other offers.
That is 100% correct. And that's the biggest thing that people don't understand. You've got to work to get that first offer, because everything else then takes care of itself. So it's incredible. And obviously we have a segue into this pretty cool and interesting and exciting quarterback controversy. And I'll let you set the stage on it, but just briefly from my side, from what I know, CJ Carr committing to Notre Dame, and his father, for those of you who don't know, was the head football coach for Michigan.
Grandfather.
Sorry, did I say father? I meant grandfather. Grandfather was the head coach at Michigan. Very, very successful head coach at Michigan.
National champion.
Underappreciated, in my
opinion.
Won
a national title. I mean, who wins a national title at Michigan? Bo and Lloyd Carr.
Right. Underappreciated a little bit too, right? In the lores of Michigan, because he was if I'm not mistaken, a Bo Schembechler protege, and really carried on and did amazing things there. But yes, that kind of, I guess, the Michigan fans consider that a snub, and I'll let you run from there.
Yeah, and a snub, some of them think it's not a big deal, and some of them think it's the end of the world. And it brings up the subject, can Jim Harbaugh recruit elite quarterbacks? And that's the subject we're going to talk about. And, it's legacies are legacies. Not 100% of the time do they follow in the footsteps of a family. But, man, if you grow up and you're the grandchild of Lloyd Carr, and everything in your life is go blue in Michigan, and you're a Michigan kid. He plays at Saline in Michigan. You go to Michigan. I mean, you just do. So for the opportunity, Brian Kelly got really slammed for not being able to recruit elite quarterbacks. Marcus Freeman is now recruiting at an exceptional level at Notre Dame. They get CJ Carr. Michigan doesn't. So that puts all focus on Dante Moore, who's a 5-star quarterback from MLK, which is a school that has done. I mean, it's been good for both Michigan and Michigan State over the years. But he's very interested in Michigan, but he's also interested in Notre Dame. So if they lose him, then everybody's going to absolutely lose their mind and be wondering, what's going on. And then you got Jaden Davis in 2024 as a 5-star, just visited Michigan. They'll get one of them, but it's very interesting that the fan base itself denies being upset on social media. But if you go to any message board, they're ready to jump off a cliff.
Yes, I think that's interesting. The whole psychology behind it. I mean, Jaden Davis, just the other quarterback I haven't looked at too in depth, and I will more. But Jaden Davis I have, and he's an exceptional player. He does amazing things. I mean, he's got all kinds of wild videos out there on social media with him doing all kinds of amazing things. But his game film is great, and that's what I've watched as well. If they were able to scoop him, obviously that would put some of it to rest. But what I think is interesting about this, and this, I guess, is the kind of side topic of it, is I saw some of the recruiting services have Notre Dame as like number one, right, in the next class, and that's Marcus Freeman recruiting. Now, my question about that is, he was a really, really the players wanted him, and then he's a young coach, okay? And I think a lot of the recruiting now hinges on a lot of the younger recruiting coaches, right? And he was one of those guys, and he was named head coach. Now, the results on the field, we don't know that yet. We don't know any of that stuff yet, because even though you have one game under his belt, that's not enough to tell anything. But I find it interesting in the recruiting space, at least, not the coaching, but the recruiting space, on how that impact has been so significant so early.
It's surprising to me because there's so many elements that go into Notre Dame football recruiting that other schools don't have to deal with. And this is no offense to either the Michigans or the Ohio States, the Alabamas, or the Clemsons or Georgias of the world, that always have top 5 classes. Notre Dame, what they do every year, and this hasn't changed. The last guy who ever got a break from the academics, and his small break was Lou Holtz. But Bob Davie can tell you after Lou Holtz left, those academics were like ridiculously stringent again. So they have to take their list of kids, let's say their top 300 kids, and they have to whittle that down academically and do all their academic research. And, it's probably maybe 200 kids that they can recruit. Maybe it's 220 some years, maybe it's 180 some other years. So for them to be number 1 right now with an average star ranking that's above 4 and all this other stuff, it's just amazing to me. Now, he's a defensive coach. He's an Ohio State guy. He played at Ohio State. He's a player's coach, but I think it's definitely the youth and the energy he brings to recruiting. He put together a great staff as well. But I've never seen Notre Dame start like this. And CJ Carr is a class of 2024 kid. So you look at their 2024 class, and they got 3 kids already, and all of them are excellent football players. So he's not only doing it now, but he's doing it moving forward. And everybody's like, NIL is going to rule the world. Well, it's still about relationships, and you can have obviously success in name, image, likeness in Notre Dame. There's no reason not to.
Right.
But it's not all about the LAs and Miamis and the big cities. It's about recruiting, and he's done an amazing job. And I will tell you this, Harbaugh flirting with the NFL hurt. That's it. It hurt, just the way it is. I don't care if CJ Carr grew up saying, I'm going to make my own way and not go to Michigan. The fact that he wanted to leave and wasn't able to, it hurts with Dante Moore. It hurts with CJ Carr. It's going to hurt recruiting, and he's going to have to answer those questions over and over again, whereas Marcus Freeman doesn't have to.
Right. Marcus Freeman, for all intents and purposes, seems to be a college guy.
Yep.
Right. And that's exactly what Notre Dame seems to want as their head coach. So he fits that mold. It is. I just happened a couple of days ago looking at some of the rankings and stuff like that. And so it's interesting that this story came up and everything. And I might have looked after I saw the commitment. That might have been when I looked at it. And then I was just, oh my goodness, their recruiting is off the charts. And you're right, in light of the NIL, where obviously the usual suspects with the NIL are doing pretty well. They obviously have NIL. They probably have unlimited capital as well, but it's not in the press. It's not, they're not, guys aren't flaunting Bentleys, and stuff like that as part of their NIL. Like, I see USC. I just saw that the other day. I can't remember. I don't know if it was a Bentley. What was it? Yeah, I think it was a Bentley. Am I wrong?
Who was that? No, it was. Well, Lamborghini was what's his face?
No, it was a Bentley. I saw.
Wasn't it C.J. Stroud who just had a big car deal?
That's right, Ohio State. That was
Ohio State. Yeah.
It was Ohio State. So it was. Yeah, I think it was a Bentley, right? I could be wrong. Or Rolls Royce. Maybe it was Rolls Royce.
It was a ridiculous car.
Yeah, Rolls Royce, right? Yeah, and so in the era of that, right? Because you just had Ryan Day, who said he needs $13 million a year to operate the quote unquote minor league team he's got there. Yep. So I think that's what makes it so interesting and intriguing about what Marcus Freeman is doing, and obviously the offensive coordinator Tommy Rees,
the former quarterback.
Yes. played there and was a quarterback there. So I think that's interesting.
And Marcus isn't going anywhere. Like Brian Day's not going to leave that Ohio State job anytime soon. So, everybody's got a dream job, right? Mario Cristobal going to Miami, and there's, Marcus Freeman's dream job may not be Notre Dame. It may be Ohio State, but Ryan Day's not going anywhere. So Notre Dame fans are going to have Marcus Freeman. Now, he's still got to be successful, and that's not easy. And I think there's going to be a step down on the field a little bit because Brian Kelly set the bar so high. I mean, 2 playoffs and a national championship appearance, that's hard to beat. But recruiting-wise, it's been a weird year. And I will tell you, there's teams like Texas Tech and Northwestern and other schools like that are high on the recruiting list early. And you see this sometimes. I remember one summer, Kentucky under Stoops was number 1 because they have a lot of commitments. Notre Dame has 15 commitments, but they're all quality. Like of those 15, I would rate one a pure 5-star, and that's the IMG defensive end. And then I would put the other 14 in the 4-star range. And that's crazy. That's Alabama-like recruiting. So what he's doing is great. And Michigan fans are also looking at that, right? I was thinking the other night, trying to go to sleep, the last Northern teams to win a national championship or even come close to a national championship, right? Ohio State won it in 2014, and they went to the title game in 2020. Notre Dame went to the title game. They got waxed by Alabama, but they went to the title game, and they made the playoff twice. Michigan made the playoff last year. They got waxed. But nobody's come close. I mean, Ohio State has won it. Notre Dame's come close, but still got drilled. And then after that, there's a big drop-off. So Michigan fans are looking at Notre Dame and saying, how are they recruiting at this level? Jim Harbaugh, step it up. And they're getting uncomfortable.
Well, and he has a process of how he does things that he's going to not waver on. I do think the NFL thing was a blip. And my guess is it's as long as he wins really big this year, then everything will come back around. Now, the question is, if he wins really big again this year, does he jump, which may be why he's not getting some of those 2024 right away, because if I was a parent, I'd play a little wait and see myself, right? Another great year for Michigan, because obviously if you have a Michigan offer, you've most likely have 15 to 20 other offers, right? So. Right. So you could sit there and say, okay, he has a great year again and does real well. Does he stay? If he stays, then it's like, okay, that's back in the mix. If he doesn't stay, then, there's really no rush. If you're a recruit that's a 2024 to commit to Michigan, you could play a wait and see on that. Whereas, if you're a recruit and you're looking at rankings and stuff like that, and you see how Notre Dame is lining players up, you have to say, especially as a quarterback, okay, let me secure my spot. Let me make sure I'm good to go right now, because this guy's bringing in a great class, and I don't want to miss out. I could do something later on, but I don't want to miss out now.
Yeah, and Michigan's current recruiting status in 2023, isn't great. When you look at the Big Ten rankings, Northwestern, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, you got to scroll way down. Oh, Michigan, 6 commitments. 4 of them probably rated by most people 4 stars. And then, a couple reaches here and there. And when you look back at his quarterback recruiting, his best quarterback is Jake Rudock, who was a transfer from Iowa. His second best quarterback is Shea Patterson, a transfer from Ole Miss, who everybody was disappointed in because he was a 5-star kid that was supposed to be great under Jim Harbaugh and still put up good stats, but not enough people to be happy about it. His third best quarterback, Wilton Speight, who was not good. And then Cade McNamara, who's his current quarterback. I mean, this is not a who's who of great quarterbacks here. And you've got, the Dylan McCaffreys, the Joe Miltons of the world who just didn't develop. You've got, it's just J.J. McCarthy is a guy that was a big-time recruit, but now he's been hurt a couple times, and you don't know if he's going to develop. It reminds me of Spurrier back in the day when Spurrier took the South Carolina job. I thought for sure quarterbacks were going to line up. And he was involved with all those big name quarterbacks, the Mustaines and the Clausens of the world, and they were all interested in taking visits there. None of them committed. None of them chose Steve Spurrier. And I don't think it was his downfall, but it helped, sort of curb what he could do. Connor Shaw turned out to be great, but he wasn't a big time recruit. And I think that's what's holding Michigan back a little bit right now is if you're going into this, you go into that playoff game last year, right, with a good running attack and a great defense, you have a chance with a quarterback, but they didn't have a quarterback.
Do some of these, like I'm assuming most of the kids that are the top quarterbacks now have a quarterback coach, right? Or someone, one of these higher profile. Do those guys, and I honestly, I'm ignorant from this standpoint, even though I've been in the industry for a long time, I'm really not sure how much of an impact it does or doesn't have. Is there a relationship there with some of those guys with, because I'm spitballing here, but the quarterback guru coaches like Jim Harbaugh, who obviously was a quarterback, do they feel sometimes that they don't need to have that relationship? Is that relationship mean nothing? I don't know, and I'm asking this.
I think there's a level of arrogance. I think there was a level of arrogance there with Spurrier. I think there's a level of arrogance here with Harbaugh, and it's not, it's not unwarranted arrogance.
Right, right.
Jim Harbaugh did a great job at Stanford. He's done a good job at Michigan. He was a very, very good NFL, quarterback, and Steve Spurrier was a Heisman winner. But I think when you're a quarterback coach and you're a head football coach, you tend to be a little bit pickier and you tend to sort of gravitate towards what you want to do. Now, Harbaugh had Andrew Luck, pretty good, worked out well. So he did a good job with Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. He can develop quarterbacks. There's no doubt about it. It's just that he can't recruit the big name layup guys, it seems. And that's kind of what Michigan fans are upset about. And I don't know if it's that relationship with the quarterback coaches and the gurus and the Clarksons of the world. I don't know. Yeah. But I would imagine he's probably not the easiest guy to deal with in that respect.
Right. I would guess that a guy who knows a good amount like he does about quarterback play, and guys are pitching him and saying to him, hey, this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'll take a look at it myself. I'm just role playing. If I was that kind of a guy, if I was that high a level and perceived to be that high level, which he is, and has had the success he's had, which he has had tremendous success. It's almost like, no, I appreciate you giving me all the information on your guy over and over again, but like I'll figure it out when I'm ready.
Yeah, and, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing to me because there's a lot of situations like that where you would expect guys. Chip Kelly's another one to me where he was able to find success at Oregon with quarterbacks that fit his system and what he wanted to do. And he hasn't been able to do that at UCLA. This is no knock against, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's developed solidly out of Gorman, but he just hasn't been able to take that next level with a dominant playmaker quarterback. And you would have expected that to happen by now. You would have expected Harbaugh for sure to have a blue chip first rounder by now developed, and Spurrier back in the day. So those are kind of examples of guys that I think, it's odd. Listen, Charlie Weiss recruited more 5-star quarterbacks than any of these guys, and he never played football. It's just weird. I can't figure it out. So they better get Dante Moore, and if they don't get Dante Moore, they better get the kid from Charlotte because, Jaden Davis was wearing Michigan cleats the other day at a camp. He took his visit. He sort of shut down other visits. They better get one of these three because if they whiff on all three of them, including a legacy, Michigan fans are going to lose their minds.
My guess is he'll get one, and they'll make sure that all the other parts that are important around recruiting, meaning the money and all that kind of stuff, is in the right situation. And now that relationship, I'm sure he has a great relationship with the alumni. They can get whatever they need with him. And it's just a matter of figuring that part out. But I do think they don't have to rush, and that's a big thing. They don't have to rush; they can wait and see. And you know what else is interesting? It's like I think the Chip Kelly thing. You're right on. I thought last year the quarterback was going to be there. I thought he was going to get there, and then it just didn't get there.
Solid, but he just didn't break the through.
Yeah, I mean he was good, but he exactly right. And I think that the quarterback prospect, the system is kind of a big deal, and how that all the players that are around them are a bigger deal than is quote unquote Chip Kelly's system still innovative. That's I mean I don't know. I mean obviously it was the modern spread and the in the hurry up fashion. Kelly had developed that, and now that is not as early system as it was. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the best transfer. I mean, the best quarterback that Jim Harbaugh is going to get is a transfer quarterback. I mean, that's just kind of the way. So when I'm looking at the J.J. McCarthy's of the world, who are big time recruits, he was at IMG's, an Illinois kid, went to Michigan. Now it's a sort of a battle set this fall between him and McNamara to be the starter, but he's had some injuries. It's probably going to be, and this is hope for Michigan fans, because let's say you don't get Dante Moore and you've lost CJ Carr in 2023. The portal changes the world anyways. And if you do look at his two best quarterbacks that he's ever had, they're both transfers. So that's kind of like a do-over. And it's a good situation for coaches. If you miss on a quarterback, or if you don't recruit the elite quarterback, or he doesn't pan out, or he gets hurt, you got the portal where you can go and get somebody, even if it's a Cameron Ward who's going to Washington State from Incarnate Word, jumping that far, or somebody coming from Power 5 to Power 5, you'll be able to recover. What he should probably do, though, Jim Harbaugh, if you're listening, is he should probably look at our Twitter feeds for our promotions. Like that segue, right?
Great segue.
Oh, thanks. I mean, listen, we got a couple of very interesting quarterbacks. Are they Michigan level? I don't know. Russell Wilson was a 2-star. So, tell me about quarterbacks, and I'll tell you that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't know. I don't know how they're going to, be well. We talked last week, I think it was you and me, about Anthony Morelli and how amazing he looked, But when the pass rush came, he struggled a little bit here and there, and you just don't know what you're getting with these quarterbacks. So that's why I think you have to, turn over every stone. I just sent a DM to this Drew Novak kid. Have you heard about him?
No.
All right, 6'6", 205-pound kid.
Oh, yeah, Drew Novak. Yes, absolutely.
In Ohio, right?
Yes, I know he is.
Stats out the wazoo, right? I mean, ridiculous statistics. He 5,200 yards, 56 touchdowns, 11 picks last year, and he's got no offers.
Yeah, I have a hard time understanding that one. That's a perfect example for this program here.
I sent him a DM, and I haven't bothered him much. He sent me his highlight film back in April. And he said, Mr. Farrell, here's my stats, blah, blah, blah. I look forward to hearing from you about my film, blah, blah. Still doesn't have any offers. It's June 13th. He's been to a few camps, right? The tipping point for this kid, and I just sent him the message. I said, if you're interested in the promotion package, this could be the tipping point. Because, again, we talk about the tipping point. We talk about getting that one first offer. Okay, so if Drew Novak gets a little bit of exposure from us, who know people, and I watched this film. I mean, he's a Power 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the hesitation is he's very thin. His release is slightly elongated, little picky stuff, right? And people are wary of stat stuff for quarterbacks. I mean, you remember the kid, he went to Washington, and he was a California kid who threw 88 touchdowns his senior year. Gosh, I can't remember his name. He's a 2-star, and nobody wanted him. And he ended up getting multiple Pac-12 offers because somebody offered him early in the summer of his senior year, heading into his senior year, and then he just blew up after that. This kid gets an Illinois offer or something like that, he's going to blow up. But he can't get over that hump yet. He still doesn't have one. So he's a good example of a kid that, listen, you got all this attention. Everybody's heard of you. There's been viral TikTok videos about you and why you have no offers. You got 2 stars on most of these places. And I can tell you why you have 2 stars. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I know the ranking system that certain companies use. And you watch, this kid ends up with 20 offers. All of a sudden, he's a 4-star. Woo, look at that.
Of course.
And that's just not, it's not saying anything bad about anybody, but the actual evaluation process is gone because people don't have time to do it. They don't have time. They want to see, okay, this kid got offered by Illinois. Okay, now I got time. But until he gets that first offer, I don't have time. And
I just saw Carson Kruger. They went undefeated last weekend in 7-on-7, his squad, and he's only going to continue like that. And the boosting of those guys, now people are paying attention. You have to make sure you leverage from a recruiting standpoint the marketing aspects of what's going on, because and me and Mike really just have a unique platform. Every guy that we've done stuff with has already been getting boosted. A lot of them are expected to get stuff very shortly, and it's going to continue to grow. And what athletes don't realize is that they think they've been doing recruiting because, they got invited to a camp. I can't tell you how many kids retweet that they were invited to a camp. That does not boost your recruiting. You get invited to a Monmouth camp, or you're invited to it because thousands, then a day later, the video comes out of 1,000 kids at a camp, and everyone's like, well, everyone knows that everybody's invited to the camp. So that is not a recruiting. What you need is someone talking about what your skill sets are that has the connection to be able to get it out there. That's the important thing.
Yeah, and not to a ridiculous level either. I mean, we're not going to lie to you. Carson Kruger is a good example. He was a backup to Klubnik. Klubnik's 5-star quarterback going to Clemson, could be a starter as a true freshman. You're just a backup. You look at Kyle Trask, who was a backup to Eric King, and he just got lucky that NUC liked him at Florida, because that was really the only offer he had. But you get stuck behind somebody who's really good, and you don't get a chance to showcase your skills until you get out of there, until they leave. Sometimes you have Division I ability. Now, sometimes you don't, or we don't know. We just did a 2027 kid. I think South Carolina, North Carolina. He's really good for his age, right?
Yep.
He's in 8th grade. I don't know. Is he gonna grow 6 more inches, or is he done growing? Is he going to get big and strong? Is he going to grow into a linebacker instead of a running back? I mean, you just don't know. And we're not going to lie, but I will tell you this: these camps, they're great, but they're a money grab. And people will say why don't you just do it for free? Well, this isn't the world we live in. You don't do anything for free. These camps aren't going to let you come here for free. Because that's what they have to do. They have to make money off of this stuff, and they also have to evaluate. So, it's a balance. You look at a local camp, like you're in Jersey, Rutgers, right? For years and years and years, Rutgers, thousands of kids invited, full teams invited, all of them paying money to go to the camp. 1% of those kids at the summer camps are Rutgers eligible offer kids. And I mean by eligible talent-wise.
Right.
The rest, the 99%, their parents sent them there with a hope and a dream, or maybe they wanted to tire them out over a 3-day period or get them out of the house, whatever reason.
Yeah, right.
They sent them to that camp, maybe made them a better person. It could. I mean, it's hard work in the summer, but you're not going to get noticed there. You're one of 1,000 guys, and for you to have that little tape on your helmet with your name, and for a coach to see you in the position group and pull you to the front, it just doesn't happen. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. There's too many people and bodies around for that to occur. So that's why, again, Mike Barrow, why don't you do this for free? Well, you know what? I did it kind of for free for 24 years. I provided plenty of exposure for kids over the years, but I got bills to pay. And I
value to what you do. There's
a platform. Like, I worked hard for this. So did you. And we have a tremendous platform for it. And it's helping kids. Listen, I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not here to make sure that a kid gets a full ride, right? I'm here to evaluate and promote at the level I feel you're good at. And I think that's the important part too of the evaluation, which kind of is overlooked a little bit, and that's fine. But I will tell you what level you should be focusing on, because if you're going out there and I'm going to do 5 Power 5 camps, Mr. Farrell. Well, guess what? You're an FCS kid. But FCS scholarships are more important than ever with the transfer portal, because you see those kids have success for a couple of years at FCS, and then all of a sudden they're in Alabama or Penn State or a big school. And that's why you can't let that FCS opportunity pass you by. So if Carson doesn't get those offers, and he had a good camp at Tulsa and he was with the Ivies yesterday, if he doesn't get those offers and he ends up going FCS, that's okay. Because if you do well at FCS, you got a better chance of playing in Power 5 than if you go to a group of 5 school or a Power 5 school and you're 4th on the depth chart and sitting there and you're never going to play.
And you know what else? You could listen, you could take these videos, okay, and when you, not just what we're doing for you, but when you're actually actively sending your stuff out, you could, what we say about you, you could take that and also say, here's what a third party that is respected has said about my film or my performance. And you know what? When you do go to some of these camps, now it may work at a Power 5 depending on what you're doing. But let's say you showed up at Villanova's camp. Now you get put in the premier group with them. So now they're watching you right now. They're watching you right now, as opposed to you're back with, and they don't, I try to tell parents this all the time. There's a specific group that's being watched. Okay. Yes. And you're most likely you're not in it unless you go early on, blast the 4.45, 4.50 40, or you walk in and you're 6'6", and for some reason that you weren't. Most of those 6'6" they already do know about, but let's say you walk in, you were 6'6" and nobody knew who you were yet. Okay, then you might get boosted up to that group. Short of those two things, you need to have that pre thing going on for you to be in that group now, so you can be watched.
Yeah, and we're going to be honest too, because Jesse Washington III is a good example here. 2024 kid we just did. He's 5'9", 200 pounds. He's playing linebacker at the high school level, right? Because that's what his team needs him to do and be. And he's a really good tackler and he's good in coverage. But 5'9" isn't going to pay the bills, right? You're not going to be a linebacker at the FBS level. But what I'm doing is I'm evaluating his film. I'm evaluating not only his instincts and his read and reaction, but also the way he drops and how he can flip his hips and things like that on film. And he could be a strong safety. Now, 5'9" could turn into 5'11", or it could stay 5'9". But he's a physical, aggressive kid. And it felt weird to me to talk on that video about a detriment, because I'm getting paid to do this. Right. I should say all positive, great things, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say 5'9", 200 isn't good for a linebacker, but it's pretty good for a strong safety. So with that buzz that he has, he goes into a camp, right? Oh, I'm Jesse Washington III. Mr. Farrell, Mr. Schuman did this video on me. They looked at my film as a linebacker, and they think maybe I could play strong safety. Well, first of all, they're going to put you in the right group. They're not going to put you at linebacker where you have no chance of playing. They're going to put you at strong safety and see if you have the movement in the hips and the ability and the fluidity and all that stuff. And that could help you too. So it's not just blowing smoke and things like that. I've seen kids come through this program that are just not there, right? I think one of the first few we did, I looked and I said, "Hey, Dave, what do you think? I got D3 here." Right. And you're like, "I got D3 too." And you just tell the kid honestly, it's D3. That's life. May disagree, may not, whatever. But, I'm not going to tell a kid like Jesse Washington, a 5'9", 200-pound linebacker, that he could play at Georgia. Why? That's good.
And you know what I identified with him too? And you may remember this guy. You remember Cameron Nwasu, who played linebacker for Rice, who was the leading tackler for years. I think he grad transferred also at SMU. So when Jesse picks schools, right, you get on the phone, you get in that conversation. Do you guys still look at a guy and I said this in the thing, The only way he could play linebacker is at a school that maybe takes a guy like a Cameron Nwasu. You got to do your research on that, right? Because is there a school that has a guy like that on the roster? Possibly.
Right.
Now, Cameron Nwasu, I always say this, the second he stepped into camp, I remember he was doing things that were pretty crazy. So is he Cameron Nwasu? You know, I would have to see him live to know if he has those kind of things. I've never seen anyone close the gap on a jam in 101s and not get run by. Like, he never missed. I was amazed by that. He never missed the jam and was able to always get himself in position. Despite, I don't know what I don't think he even ran an amazing 40, but he just had, like, I don't know. He had it, you know? So I remember seeing it and I was just like, I remember telling him, I don't know if you're going to be a Division I guy or not, but you have the ability. And he ended up being Division I linebacker, broke the NCAA record for blocks in a game at one time. And
guess where he would be today, right? So you're talking about a guy who was pre-transfer portal and then transferred as a grad transfer, right? When it was allowed to move without penalty. He would be, and this is, listen, no offense to Rice, and I'm not trying to hurt any smaller programs, but a kid like that good, 2 years at Rice, he might be at Texas.
Correct.
That's just the new world we're in, or 1 year. So, I mean, publicity is publicity, and it doesn't matter where you start at, it's where you finish. And you look at these guys, Cyrus O'Torrance is a offensive lineman. Ever heard of him? No one ever has, right? He was at Louisiana last year with Billy Napier. Napier takes the Florida job. Cyrus was an All-American, right? An All-American as a Group of 5 player. Now he's going to be at Florida, and he could be a first rounder in a year. That's the start, and that's the finish. And it's not always going to work out that well for you. But I will tell you this, the transfer portal, man, they are looking and looking and looking and looking and looking more and more. And it's not just that they're looking, Alabama's looking at Power 5. They're taking Jermaine Burton from Georgia and Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech, and that's Alabama. But these other schools, Oregon State or Rutgers, or, they're looking FCS, and they're looking FCS and Group of 5, and they're looking to improve their roster with those guys. So, just get somewhere is the key. But you can also be completely ignored in this entire process, and that's what we're offering here, is a chance to not be ignored. Now, we could put it out there, promote you, and everybody could still look at it and say, no way, not a chance. But at least you gave it a shot, and you got some exposure. There are so many kids out there who just go through the process and almost give up because they're just not getting any attention. It's so frustrating for a talented kid to have like 84 followers. Most of them are his friends. Send film after film to college coach after college coach. Never get a response. Never get anything back. And then just give up. And you're like, and there could be some really good football players that are sort of giving up on their dream because they just never got that little boost. So that's what we're offering here. It's fun for me. Like I said, summer's tough. Everybody's doing stuff on the weekends. But as football season creeps up here, man, we're going to be pretty busy.
There's no doubt about it. There will be more Ali Marpettes in the world that move up instead of staying at Hobart, right, for 4 years, and then he get up drafted in the 3rd round. Ali Marpet, we just retired, I think, this past year, but playing the NFL, was an early pick. And he would not have been in Hobart after the second year of playing there. He would have been at some Power 5 conference school, and for what he was doing. And that's why you're right. You got to be able to get somewhere, and then everything else will start to take care of itself.
Yeah. So what is it? It's myfootballcamps.com/D1, right?
myfootballcamps.com/D1. You can. Mike's Twitter is Farrell promo.
M Farrell Sports. M Farrell Sports on Twitter.
M Farrell Sports, and then I'm at Coach Schuman, and you guys can go right on there and check us out, and you will have the opportunity to speak with us, and we're going to give you the assessment and the promotion that you need. So make sure you check that out. Again, another amazing podcast. I mean, we just get right to the heart of the matter. Take advantage of the opportunity to work with us. You need people behind you that know the right people and that are respected. That's the key. If you don't have that behind you, then anyone can promote. And it's not to knock what a lot of other people do, but there is a lot of people promoting that it's like out in the middle of space and nothing's ever going to happen. You need the right people behind you that have respected. Myself and Mike, between the two of us, have put 45 years of experience on the line. myfootballcamps.com/D1. Check us out. We'll be back here next week. We'll keep talking about the topics that you want to talk about. Amazingly, there's always something interesting in college football every week.
Always. All right, man. Thanks.
You got it. Till next time. We'll see you soon.